Good evening. I'm Isaiah Hughley, City Manager of Columbus, Georgia. I want to welcome you to the second of two public meetings to discuss the American Rescue Plan. We've got a presentation for you tonight that will be presented by Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge and Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin. We've got our mayor here, city councilor member here, and the mayor will come and greet you in just a moment or second. But let me just explain. The presentation that you're going to see tonight is a list of priority projects that put together by city staff, shared with the mayor and council at a recent city council meeting. It's a priority order that staff came up with, and Deputy City Manager Hodge will explain to you how the staff came up with those priority projects, or at least a priority list of projects. It's not the mayor's priority list, it's not the city council members' priority list, it's a priority list that was presented to them as recommendations from staff. And what we told them is that we would have two public meetings. We would present that priority list of projects to the public. We would receive comments, input, suggestions, recommendations from the public, and then we would come back to them after we will have had the two public meetings, and that priority list might change based on what we heard from the public in the two public meetings. We could add some things, we could delete some things, and then present what we would hope would be a priority list of projects to the mayor and council for their consideration at that time, which means they would vote, and that's how we would proceed in spending the American Rescue Plan 50% allocation that we've already received. That money is in the bank. And so that's kind of the process. And so you have a chance tonight to share your thoughts, recommendations, concerns. We want your input. You can call any of your elected officials, the mayor, the 10 members of council. You can weigh in with them because they ultimately will have the final vote on what the money is spent on that priority list. That is what we're going to do this evening. Thank you for being here, and I am going to welcome to the podium our mayor, the Honorable Mayor Skip Henderson, and then following Mayor Henderson will be Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge and Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin. They will do the presentation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. And I won't be long. I want to go ahead and get to the presentation.
Manager.
Oh, manager. What'd I call you? Attorney. That shows you the kind of day I'm having. I need an attorney after that. But so I apologize, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, sir. Now, I do want to add my thanks to the city managers for y'all being here. It's a big part of this process. I mean, it's been a tough year. It's been a heck of a year, really. And there are people hurting. There are nonprofits hurting. There are families hurting. There are individuals. There are cities that are hurting in certain areas. And this represents an opportunity to do what we can with what we have to try to ease some of the trouble that some of these folks have seen. Can't fix it all. And that's why this is such a difficult process and such an important process as we work through the prioritization, and the public is a big piece of that. So again, I thank you for being here, and if you hear somebody asks you and they say, hey, I missed that when the city attorney, I'm just kidding, the city manager made that great speech, tell them to contact their council, tell them to contact us, tell them to contact the city manager's office. We desperately want to hear from them because we want to make sure that this money does go where it has an opportunity to touch the most people in our community. So again, thank y'all for being here, and I'll turn it over to Deputy City Attorney, Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge.
Good evening. I'm Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge. Welcome this evening. We're glad you're here. I'm going to take a few minutes just to go through the presentation. At the end, we'll have a time for comments and questions, and we'll be happy to respond to all of your comments and questions at that time. The American Rescue Plan, was passed by the House in February, by the Senate in March, and it was signed into law March 11th of 2021. And it was a $1.9 trillion economic relief due to the pandemic. State and local governments were allocated $362 billion of that $1.9 trillion that was a direct allocation to states and local governments. So you're hearing a lot about programs under the American Rescue Plan. This is only the portion that was allocated to state and local governments. So there's multitude of other funding that was provided in other ways through that $1.9 trillion. The use of funds for state and local governments fall under basically 4 categories: responding to the public health emergency and the negative impacts from COVID, respond to workers who performed essential work, and there is a specific definition for government employees and whether or not they're considered essential workers and whether or not they're entitled to premium pay. Revenue replacement for the government, and this is total for the City of Columbus. It's not individual revenue sources for hotel motel tax or parks and recreation fees or court fees. It's by total of how much was collected over time, and there is a formula that the Treasury has provided on how that will work. And then the 4th category is investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So those are the 4 categories that we're allowed to spend this funding that's been allocated to the city. So as a consolidated government, we qualify as both a city and a county. Our city allocation is just over $40 million. Our county allocation is just over $38 million. So our total allocation is $78 million, and it's coming in 2 increments. We've received the first 50%, the city portion, June 7th, the county portion, June 14th. So we've received $39.2 million, which is our first half. The balance of that is anticipated to be distributed based on the law in 12 months. So the Treasury did issue what they've called an interim final rule. That was done on May 17th. It was open for a comment period through July 16th. That has closed. A final guidance has not been issued as of now. Originally, there was a frequently asked question that the Treasury provided that was 14 pages. To date, that frequently asked, it was 18 pages. Now it's 42 pages. So there has been many clarifications and questions that the Treasury has responded to from state and local governments on how these funds could be spent to make sure that everyone's in compliance. So there's more to come. The final guidance has not yet been received. It does outline in the interim final rule what those eligible uses are and provides a lot more detail than the 4 categories that I provided to you earlier. The eligible costs have a specific time period, cannot have been incurred prior to March 3rd of 2021 through December 31st of 2024, has to be committed, and it has to be spent by December 31 of 2026. So it's not, has to be spent tomorrow. We have a little bit of time to work through this process, setting these priorities, because it's very important for our community that we spend it in the right way. And so we're not in any big hurry, but we have some needs that need to be addressed. And so that's why we're starting the discussion about those priorities. There is financial reporting that's required with this, a lot of paperwork and documentation that must be maintained on every dollar that is spent out of this $39 million and eventually the $78 million. So we want to be sure that anything that is spent with these funds meets the requirements of the U.S. Treasury so that we don't have to pay the funds back. So it's very important that we follow their process. So we solicited originally from all the departments within the city government. They submitted 332 requests totaling $108 million of things that they felt would meet the requirements of the American Rescue Plan. So we had an internal team. We went through those requests. 77 of the requests, or almost $49 million, met the interim final rule. So these were needs that the departments submitted to us, and they did meet what were the interim final rule. 60 requests we feel like are probably eligible, but we want to wait for the final rule just to make sure and validate that. That was about $23.6 million. And there were 195 requests, $35.7 million, that either did not meet the interim final rule or had already been funded through another means, either the annual budget process or through the CARES Act of the funding that we received initially. We've also determined that our 2020 revenue recovery amount is $3.5 million. So that calculation has been done for 2020. That's an annual calculation that can be done for revenue recovery for the government on any lost revenues from the city itself. This is just a summary list, a partial list of some of the things that we receive from departments, anywhere from computer and software upgrades, generators, garbage trucks, ambulances, restroom replacement, all of those things that the department feel was an impact to them through COVID and the pandemic, and they submitted as a request to us to review. So we came back after our internal team, made up of both deputy city managers, myself and Lisa Goodwin, finance director, HR director, and our IT director, and these were the recommended funding priorities. One, automation of the garbage collection to include garbage trucks and carts at $19.5 million. Revenue recovery, which again was the $3.5 million. Small business grants at $3 million. Ambulances, $2.1 million. Community safeguard programs to include cure violence and cameras, $1 million. Broadband cybersecurity upgrades, $3 million. Premium pay for public safety and other essential employees at $5 million. And stormwater infrastructure at $2 million, for the total of $39 million. And again, as the city manager mentioned, this is an internal list that we made a recommendation to City Council to get the discussion started with that priority list and to get the public's input. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the small business grant program, and then I'll be followed by Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin, who will talk a little bit more about the garbage collection portion. So we had a program through our CDBG program, through funding that we received through CDBG, and we partnered with Startup Columbus for a small business loan grant program, not a loan, a grant, $112,000. The grants up to $4,000 for small businesses, 1 to 25 employees, and those were for things like rent, your mortgage, utilities, employee payroll, and the assistance was to continue employment to low to mod income. This particular funding had some HUD restrictions with it, and so there were some low to mod income individuals that need to benefit from these particular grants. The eligibility was very simple. You had to be a for-profit business, current on your business license, 1 to 25 employees. You had to have a physical presence within Columbus and been in operation since January 1 of 2020, current on all your taxes, and again, to retain or create jobs for low to mod income individuals. And this is just the list of businesses that have been awarded to date that $4,000. Wide range of types of businesses, different areas of our community, have completed all the paperwork necessary to receive that $4,000 grant. So at this time, I will turn it over to Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin and to talk about the collection.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Hodge. Good evening. I'm going to share with you again just a little bit about where we are in terms of the garbage pickup and how it relates to the ARP. What we're looking at and what I'd like to share with you is, first of all, what you probably already know, which is our waste collection priority. And in terms of that priority, the number one legal requirement that we have as a city is to collect your household waste, and that's your household garbage. That's number one. Number two is the recycling, and then yard waste, and then last is our bulk waste. And I want to just share with you a little bit about the difference in terms of what we talk about when we say yard waste and bulk waste. Yard waste is defined as the grass clippings or the leaves, the things that you bag and or those things that you containerize. Again, clippings and leaves. And you have that, and you have the rear loader truck, very similar to the truck that comes by that pick up your household garbage that has the inmates on the back. That's the truck that will pick up that containerized waste and those bags. They will cut the bags open and empty the leaves or the lawn clippings into the rear loader. Those plastic bags cannot, by law, go into our landfill. So that's why you will see them cut that open. The other truck that will come through is a grab-all truck, okay? And the grab-all truck comes by in those the big piles of limbs that you have out there that we consider yard waste, but it's a different truck that will pick that up. So if you have a big pile of limbs in your yard next to bags or containerized clippings, 2 trucks will pick that up. And so you may call and say, well, hey, they only got 1 pile. They didn't get the other pile. That's because another truck will then come. And that truck is called a grab-all with 1 driver. And you will see that automated arm go out and pick up that large pile. So those are the 2 types of pickups for yard waste that you will see. The other is our bulk waste or white goods. You may even hear it termed green waste versus non-green waste, but it's bulky material, which is like the couches and mattresses, refrigerators, those things. And those are those things that, again, the grab-all truck will come by and pick up with that automated arm to come and pick that up, because it's, to have people in the other truck with 2 inmates back, they just can't pick that stuff. We don't want them to pick that stuff up. It takes that hydraulic arm to do that. And so just know that if you have that type of waste at your home, different trucks will come by to pick it up. And so when you hear your neighbors say, well, they got yours but didn't get mine, you know why, depending on what they have out there. Now, in terms of the resources that we use for picking up waste, in the Waste Management Division, there are 62 budgeted positions. Currently, we only have 50 of those positions that are filled. Now, what our daily requirement is for pickup is, let's go look at household waste. I need 26 employees to pick up waste, 26. Remember, I only have 50. And then for recycling, I need 10. Now, we're already at 36. And then for yard waste, I need 14 to meet our daily requirement. That's our 50. That's the 50 that I currently have, and I haven't even touched the bulk waste yet. And so because I haven't touched bulk waste, keep in mind the 50 positions that I've currently already committed in those 3 categories. If someone is on vacation, if they call in sick, if they retire, if they just quit, then I'm already at a deficit. And so what do I have to do? I now have to pull from the categories that I have in order to meet the commitment for household waste and recycling first. So which means I'm going to pull from yard waste, because I already don't have anybody for bulk waste, because I'm 12 positions short. And for bulk waste, I need 12 people. I need 12 positions, and I just don't have them. And so that's where we are, and that is why bulk waste is right now behind 5 to 6 weeks. That's our reason. I mean, there's no other explanation. I need 50. I have 62 positions, and I need 50, and when they leave, then that's the deficit. And right now, all 12 of those bulk waste positions are vacant. We've had a number of questions to come before us, and just wanted to had some, want us to kind of explain a few things. And the first question was, why not purchase more grab-all trucks in order to pick up bulk waste? Well, as mentioned, we just don't have the bodies. We have plenty of trucks. I have 12 trucks that are less than or right at 3 years old. So the trucks is not the issue, the bodies are. And so Mike Criddle, the Director of Public Works, is in the back, and if you can give him 12, the job is done. Right now, we have 0. And so again, the trucks are not the issue. It's filling the positions, those vacancies. Question number 2. If we buy all the trucks all at one time, then we're going to need some sort of capital savings plan to prepare for that challenge. And our plan, as I will show you in the next slide, is a 3-year approach of how we're looking to purchase household waste, yard waste, and recycling automated trucks. And then to also make sure that we continue to keep a vehicle replacement schedule, maybe 2 to 3 trucks that we purchase every year just to keep our fleet healthy. We're going to have that plan in place so that we don't get back to where we are. If we keep doing the things that we've always done the same way, we're going to keep getting the same result. And so we've got to do some things a little different, and that's keeping pace with that vehicle replacement schedule. The other question is, it appears to be a lot of money for a system we don't yet understand that will not pick up waste. Now, the lot of money that they're talking about is what Deputy City Manager Hodge mentioned regarding the priority in terms of the automated trucks and the carts. That's the money that they're talking about, that $19.5 million. Right now, we use inmates. We've got to get out of that, the business of using inmates for waste pickup, because right now, the Muskogee County Prison, which is the largest work camp in Georgia, they are already short 200, right at 200 in terms of inmates that we would typically get to go out and work in different capacities in different areas within the city. And so we know that that's something that we cannot continue to rely on for the future. And so we do use inmates for all parts of waste, for everything that we do except for bulk waste, and that's because of the grab-all one-man operation. That's the only one that we don't use inmates for, but we use inmates for everything. And so again, 12 positions is what's short. It's not the vehicles that are in need, because buying new vehicles is not going to help that issue of vacancies. When we talk about resource allocation of those that we have for yard waste, again, as mentioned, we have 14 trucks that we have in Public Works, CCG. We also have AmWaste. Back in the end of May, Council approved a third-party contract with AmWaste of Georgia, LLC, and they are now boots on ground as of June the 21st, helping to supplant that program in terms of picking up waste, yard waste in particular. Again, on July the 27th, Council approved once again an additional $1.7 million for AmWaste of Georgia to assist us. And so now you see we're doing everything that we can, and Council has appropriated these additional resources so that we can get out there and aggressively tackle the issue that you see every day. We see it every day. We get the calls. We hear from you. We understand what the issues are. That's why Council took that step. Now, what we intend to do, again, I've told you that we really don't have anyone handling bulk waste daily. We may get 1 or 2 trucks, or here and there, as we're able to get those people coming in, but typically not very much. So the newly approved 1.7 million of those 5 trucks, which is a 3-man crew, we're going to put them on yard waste just like the other 5 are, but we're going to remove 5 of our trucks of the 14, 5 of ours, and then we're going to put those and dedicate that crew specifically to pick up bulk waste. That way we know every single day, without a doubt, we have somebody out there picking up the bulk waste, which is the problem right now. And so that's going to help that. And we have some other things that we're working on to help hopefully take care of some of that even more. And you'll hear more about that. Now back to the plan, and this is the purchase of the automated trucks from the ARP funding. In year 1, we are going to be looking to purchase all of the containers for yard waste and for household garbage. That means, yes, that we will be issuing every household another container for yard waste, a container for household garbage, which means you will have an opportunity, if you need more than that, to purchase additional containers as well. You can certainly do that. So that's in year 1. And then year 1 also, we're looking to purchase the 24 household garbage automated trucks. And those 2 things, year 1. Year 2, we will purchase 14 yard waste automated trucks. And then in year 3, we will then go and purchase 2 additional recycling automated trucks and additional recycling containers. Now, you saw earlier in the presentation where I said that we have a need for 26 for household garbage. And here we only getting 24 trucks. That's because we have 2 routes in Bibb City where these trucks cannot navigate. So we've got to continue to use our rear loaders for those particular 2. So that's why we're looking at only purchasing 24. And of course, it would help us also, we're looking at in the vehicle replacement schedule so that we'll have spares. So that's going to be programmed in the plan to ensure that we have a spare ratio. So in summary, we don't have an issue with grab-all trucks for bulky waste. The problem is filling those 12 vacancies. And if you have a CDL, if you know anyone with a CDL who is interested in coming on with the City of Columbus, please have them to go to columbusga.org, complete an application, or they can call our Public Works Department just to get more information on the position and how they might qualify for those positions. We're looking for any and all people to come and be a part of us. All right, thank you so much.
So as the city manager mentioned, this is our 2nd public meeting. We had another public meeting on Monday night to have this same discussion. Our timeline after the public meetings is to go back to council with an update with everything that we hear this evening and what we heard from the citizens on Monday, and then to go back to council again with authorization in the future. We'll go back on August the 24th and have that discussion again with council, and at some point in time they will make an approval and authorization on how these funds will be allocated. Again, this is pending receipt of the final rule from the U.S. Treasury. We feel it's really important to make sure that we have that, to make sure that we spend the funds as they're intended to be spent. So at this time, we'd like to open it up for comments and questions. So please come up to the microphone so that we're able to hear you.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Broadwater, Sr. I live at 3004 Slippery Rock Court, 31909. First, I want to thank all the elected officials, Mr. City Manager, 2 deputies, and Madam Director. But my major concern here is I've been here 18 years, this is the first year I think that this government has an opportunity to dispel some disparities in our city. Columbus is one of the great cities in the state of Georgia, but we all know that we have some issues. One of my major concerns, and I'm happy to see that on your list from the officials, is broadband. I'm concerned about our children. I know this is not the school district, but we have an opportunity to do something. I called public housing today and asked how many units did they have. They have roughly 2,400 units. And I said, well, what is the percentage that have families with children in them? They said, Mr. Broadwater, it's about 60%. Now, one of the issues with broadband and public housing is the kid, last year, they got these little mobile hotspots, but they had to turn them back in. So what I'm proposing that we do is form a partnership with public housing and affix some type of permanent structure to those housing units that have family members. One of the things I noticed here in Columbus, one of my last jobs I had was to send guys overseas for government contract work. And I had to fax something within 10 minutes, and I was on Buena Vista Road. There was no touch with the outside world. There was no place to fax anything. Now, I drove up to Macon Road, no problem. But so that's one of the things I'm looking at with our citizens, especially those that are in public housing. I remember the mayor asked me about what can we do to help. He asked one of those ideas about what can we do to help the South Side. And then I go into my next spiel. Title I schools. It has been stated that before COVID hit, we had, in particular, African-American males were behind approximately 1 year in reading. That's just a baseline. And with that, by them having that learning loss, that was before COVID. Now it's estimated after COVID, they are 3 to 5 years behind. So I think that some of the things that we could do with our Title I schools, and this will be another partnership with the school board, to make sure that every student that attends a Title I school has a Chromebook, an up-to-date one, not the ones that they have now. And not just the Chromebook, you need the headset to go with that. Talked to a couple of educators, they need intervention teachers. The social emotional aspect of our children now, educators have an issue. They're not able to address that. So they need intervention teachers. I talked to your director of public works, and I told him that every chance that I got, I would step to the plate, step to the mic, and say, I'm glad to see that number one, because we need that. One of the main reasons you cannot keep drivers is because you don't pay them but $12, and your competition pays them $15. So, you know, just looking at that aspect, that's why we're losing them. Let's make sure I covered everything that, had a couple of people called me today and talked about walking trails on the east side and south side. Simply walking trails, not next to the river, but walking trails like it's one from my house. I could walk a half a mile and I'm at a walking trail. So that was one of the things they brought up. And the last thing I talk about is veterans. I love veterans. Columbus flourishes because of Fort Benning. I don't care what anyone says, it flourishes. We have the second largest contingency of veterans besides Atlanta in the state of Georgia, right here. And the last mayor's administration I made a proposal to the council that you hire a military liaison. And for those that retire, that's a person that they can go to directly. That person sort of knows the inner workings of the city. I didn't know I was, and some of you remember, I didn't know that I was exempt from taxes, and I paid $12,000 in taxes. And all I had to do was fill out a piece of paper. But those are the things that veterans need to know about. In Augusta, when you go to the mall in Augusta, military has a certain parking spot. That's just to show the appreciation for their service. Again, that's all I have to say. I want to thank you very much for the job you're doing. Like I always say, it ain't easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Broadwater. And let me just say, of course, you saw that we're including broadband on the list of ARP projects, but we don't want to stop there. And I want to pause to recognize our city councilor, John House, for being here, but I want to recognize the dean of our delegation, state delegation, Representative Calvin Smyre, for being here for his commitment and dedication, because the mayor and I and some others were on a Zoom call with him at 2 o'clock, and he was sitting in Atlanta in his office. And of course, he's on the governor's ARP team, and he says, I'll be at the meeting at 5:30. And so he obviously left his office and he drove here. But in that meeting that we had with him at 2 o'clock, we were talking about ARP, and we talked about broadband. And he shared with us how, you know, there are committees, of course, and you saw it, it's on the website and in the paper about, you know, he is serving on one committee, economic development, I believe, but there's broadband. And so as we address broadband with the ARP dollars, you know, the state has ARP dollars as well, and we want to go after some of their dollars to further deal with our broadband concerns and issues. So I did want you to know that. And you addressed Title I schools and what you'd like to see there. And of course, we want to work with Muscogee County School District. These are ARP dollars that came to cities and counties, but they received ARP dollars for a school district. And I just texted someone to see what they got in ARP dollars, and I'm getting a text message back that says $61.8 million. $61.8 million for the Muscogee County School District. So some of the concerns that you mentioned that are school district related, I just share that with you to say that I am sure that they will be addressing some of those concerns, but we will partner with them in any way we can to further address the concerns that you shared. And then I want to just say that I know you mentioned the bus drivers, and pay is an issue for us, not just in Columbus for bus drivers, but the school district. You remember last year they had challenges where they didn't have enough drivers to fill all the routes, and so they had to do some things that parents didn't like, and I'm sure they are having their challenge with filling driver positions right now as school is about to start. But just to clarify on our pay, though, we don't pay our drivers enough, and that is part of the problem, just as you pointed out, Mr. Broadwater. I mean, the private market right here in Columbus, they're killing us with what they pay their drivers versus what we pay drivers, and that's part of our problem. I know you mentioned $12 an hour, but we pay our drivers $15.69, well, I'm sorry, $16 an hour is what they make here at the City of Columbus. But just recently I heard advertisement on the radio where they were advertising for drivers come out to Chautauqua Road and they were paying $21 or $23 an hour. Well, our $16 an hour is not going to compete with them, and they're paying benefits and they're full-time jobs. We can't compete, or we're not able to compete with that. And if we expect to hire 12 drivers and retain drivers, we're going to have to pay them more than $16 an hour. And so that is something that the mayor and council talked about at the last meeting. It's something that we're looking into. And then I heard your concerns about veterans as well. And there's much, much more that we can do for veterans. And we've got veterans on the city council. At least I know 4 of the city council members. You got John House, Pop Barnes, Toya Tucker, Mimi Woodson are all veterans. And there may be others, but those are the 4 that I know right off. And they are always on top of veteran issues, and so more to come on that. And so, but we hear and we are recording, and we heard all your concerns. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Nancy
Oh,
Glenn.
I'm sorry, and let me just recognize Councilor Bruce Huff is here. That mask sometimes throw us off, you know. Thank you, Councilor Huff, for being here. Appreciate you. Yes.
I'm Nancy Glenn, and I live in Oakland Park on Sharon Avenue. And I wanted to comment on the bulk waste. I think it ought to be handled per district, and it's multifaceted. Like, I like that there's no fees, but I don't have a truck. Like, the things that I have put out to the curb that I needed picked up were a couch, a refrigerator, and a dresser. And any of those things wouldn't have fit in my car, and I don't have a truck. Okay, so, you know, maybe making a truck available to people that don't have a truck, that would solve some people's problems. And then, you know, if you don't have drivers but you have trucks, maybe it's that they can't drive your truck, but they have a truck and they can drive. And maybe per district, 3 or 4 people in the area that are willing to help out. But it's kind of multifaceted because, I mean, I like that. I would have took my things to the dump if I'd had a way to take them. I had to put them to the curb. And I think that is the way it is for a lot of people. And then sometimes it's just so much. I think maybe somebody just ran off and left the house, and then the whole household contents are sitting on the curb. Mm-hmm. And that's a different thing than occasionally putting a refrigerator or a couch or a dresser out. And they shouldn't be allowed to put that to the curb without scheduling a pickup for that. You know, there's some changes that could be made that
Sure.
and alleviate some of it.
Yeah. Well, and let me say that we're looking for all available options. And the deputy city managers, they're going to shoot me for talking about this, and I haven't even talked to the mayor about it, but I met with them about an hour ago and just looking for every available option. And so one option I threw out, and I threw this option out because someone came to my office today and they said, you know, well, my son has a truck and, you know, and he has a business license, you know, U-Haul style truck, and said that he goes around and if someone wants to pay him to haul off their stuff, you know, he's hauling it off. And I said, well, he ought to work for us. And, but she says he has a business license. And so I said, why don't you give me a 2-page proposal and let's look at it. And so I talked to them and I said to them, you know, this guy has a business license, insurance, and he has a U-Haul style truck. I said, you know, we ought to, not just him, but others who have similar equipment, you know, by the ton, you know, let them load, just ride the neighborhood, load up your refrigerator, your dresser, your mattress, whatever, and fill it up and go to the landfill and not pay to dump it at the landfill, and we weigh you in when you come in, and then you come back around and we weigh when you unload, and we pay them based on the tons that they deliver to the landfill. And then they go back out and fill up again. And there's only about a 30-day to 60-day window for them to really make some money, and we pay them. And I said to them that if we give this guy this opportunity and some others who have a business license and insurance, they'll probably work from the time the sun comes up in the morning until it gets dark, because you need to fill that truck up and you need to get to the landfill as quick as you can and go back and fill up again. And if we've got 5 different ones out there doing the same thing, there's only so much bulk waste, refrigerators and all that's out there that they can collect. And when it's gone, then, you know, your services, you just don't have anything to take to the landfill. And so I believe that if we go that drastic way, that we can, as soon as the next council meeting, and we can identify people with trucks who want to make some money, load up the truck, you know, with the couches and everything that's out there on the street, get it to the landfill. We weigh you in and you go back and fill up, and you fill up until the landfill closes, and then we're going to record it every time you come through there, and we're going to pay you.
Well, I think it's a
We're-
great service
we're
that
not-
we can set
yeah.
stuff out at the curb and it be picked
Yes.
up. But I don't have a problem scheduling, putting it out there. I did, it was all I could do to get what I got to the curb, the refrigerator, the couch, and the dresser. Of course, the dresser wasn't that hard, but it wasn't easy to get it to the curb, but I felt like, well, that's what other people do. I see them sitting on the curb, but I don't have a problem taking a picture of what my waste and scheduling, you know, you to come get it. But some people just put out a whole household contents out there on the curb, and then they complain about it not being picked up.
Sure.
And if they were scheduling it versus just putting it out there,
Yeah.
you know?
That's right. Well, and I share that with you in advance, and they're going to kill me afterwards. And I haven't even talked to the mayor about it, but I've challenged him, Mayor, as early as next Tuesday, I want to see a plan
Thank you.
to get this done. We are going to get the bulk waste off the streets. And this would be an emergency purchase that I would ask council to approve, that we can clean up the streets of Columbus. And so, just know that we're doing all that we can, and we'll continue to work hard to clean it all up. Are there others?
Good evening, sir.
Good
My
evening.
name's Trey Carmack. I live up on the north end on Dalton Drive. If I may take a moment of privilege, Mr. Broadwater, my compliments, sir. Broadband is an issue that I fully believe in. Without it, we're going to be a third world country here pretty quick. So I applaud that. And I applaud the city's commitment to that as well. Mr. City Manager, I applaud your thinking outside the box on that plan, and I encourage you to pursue it heavily, because not only does that encourage small business, but that helps the city out at the same time. So I applaud that and would encourage you to, like I say, pursue that vehemently. I noticed a lot of heavy equipment purchases on this priority list, and memory is not my strongest suit these days, but I remember seeing a lot of heavy equipment purchases that looked very similar in the SPLOST presentation. My question is, how do those match up? Is this taking up some of the slack from the SPLOST? Do they have to work together? How do those two relate together?
Well, and I'll let Deputy City Manager Hodge respond to that question, because she's handling both of these projects, but there is no duplication. I'll just say that.
Yes, so there is no duplication. They're really two separate efforts. On the SPLOST list was heavy equipment And it did not include garbage trucks. It was more dump trucks and animal control vehicles and backhoes and those kind of things. So it did not include the waste collection trucks that are on here. There is fire department equipment. What's on the ARP list is 6 ambulances. What's on the SPLOST list is fire trucks, pump trucks, and other equipment for fire and EMS. So they are separate requests and not duplicated.
This is your time, and we are recording your comments, and your input will be included.
Quick question, Mr. City
Sure.
Manager. I'm thinking, trying to do a little forward thinking here. What happens after you spend all the money? Because if you are spending this money and that money is not in the budget 5 years from now,
Yeah.
have we addressed that? Have we thought about what we're going to do if we need, for instance, to pay the employees more money? That budget is going to have to be increased. Have we
Yeah.
considered that, sir? Thank you.
Well, and yes, we have considered that, and notice that Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin talked about the replacement cycle. And so, you know, it's kind of, I think about in my early years, in my career, just out of school, and I rented an apartment. You know, then you had to have a down payment on a house, and they didn't negotiate on the closing costs, and you could afford the rent, but you couldn't afford the down payment and the closing cost. And so, in my mind, this is, you know, we can't afford to go out and just spend $19.5 million on them, but if we get the vehicles, then they're paid for, and then we can afford the replacement cost, because you're replacing them 3 and 4 at a time, every 3 years or so, and we can handle that cost. And so we've absolutely thought through it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for holding the public meeting. Definitely appreciate it. My name's Ed Sutherland. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Columbus Ballet, not-for-profit local organization in town. Before I kind of talk about what I want to talk about, I first want to say thank you to Emily Laskowski, who I believe is somebody's assistant, right? I called her to see if there were minutes of the Monday meeting just so I could get prepared for tonight's meeting. Very helpful, very professional, you know, great customer service. I wanted to thank you to let her know that I definitely appreciated her assistance yesterday. So you probably hear a lot of complaints all the time, so I wanted to offer the thanks to her. So Columbus Ballet, as you know, local organization supporting arts, classical ballet in Columbus. Last year, obviously with COVID, we could not be on stage because of restrictions, right? So our team came together creatively and came up with an idea of let's do the mass Nutcracker. And I don't know if any of you saw it. We broadcast it on Fox 54. For the community to partner with also other organizations that were hurting, the Columbus Museum, the Public Library, you know, Trade Center, very helpful, the Civil War Naval Museum, Botanical Gardens. So we all got together and said, let's do this for the city, raise some money through some grant funding, et cetera. We tried to raise money through soliciting donations through the broadcast, but didn't get very far with that because obviously everybody was hurting for funding and people losing their jobs, et cetera. So that's what brings me here tonight, is that we would like to put on our production this year. December of this year will be our 25th anniversary production of the Nutcracker. So it's been around in Columbus for a long time supporting the arts. So not just from an artistic standpoint, but from an economic engine standpoint, which I heard from the replay of Monday's meeting, the young man from the Springer spoke about, et cetera. So the one thing I want to get across to the council and to the managers here is that when you think about supporting the not-for-profits, which I understand you've already talked about at council meetings, et cetera, think about pushing it down to the grassroots level. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So we definitely appreciate the Springer, River Center, et cetera, but if you also support the grassroots organizations like the Columbus Ballet, like some of the other dance organizations in town, we rent the River Center, right? We rent these other places that benefit. So that grassroots funding bubbles up to these other organizations that are in town to help support the arts. So I wanted to put that out there for you all to think about, right? Don't just think about, the top, think about the grassroots organizations as well, because we definitely want to be out there this year, our 25th anniversary production, not just for the dancers who perform, but also for the community, because I think we're going to need another uplift in our spirits this December. So I don't know if you wanted to say something as you look like you're moving towards the microphone.
I do want to encourage nonprofits. I know we heard from them Monday evening, and we're taking that under advisement also. But the state's funding that they have available is also available to nonprofits.
Okay.
So if you want to contact my office, I can share the link with you for the application with the state's process as well.
Okay.
Their application process is August 1st through August 31st, so it does have a pretty quick end date.
Okay.
But I encourage you to apply in that particular way as well.
Okay.
And so if you contact my office again, I'll get you that link.
Absolutely will do that, so thank you for that. Okay. The other comment I'll make is related to what I heard here tonight and something I also heard regarding cameras around town.
Yes.
And broadband and, hotspots and so forth. So in my professional life, I help organizations with process improvement. And what I find most often is that in most large organizations, you have silos, this department, this department.
We do.
And they don't know what the other guys are doing. So if you have already thought about it, I applaud you. If you haven't, I wanted to put something out there for you to consider. And that's with respect to broadband and 5G and the cameras that we're talking about that I heard from the Monday meeting. Think about potentially combining those, right? Because with 5G cellular, you need a lot of access points, not just the big towers that are miles apart. You need a lot of access points. So my thought is that you probably have a lot of access points with your cameras that you're going to install around the city to avoid blind spots. So you probably would avoid Wi-Fi blind spots if you combined efforts. So I don't know if your chief technology officer or CIO folks are thinking about that, but you could combine efforts, your camera deployment with potentially small cell deployment 5G. Now, that's not my area of expertise. It's just something I'm superficially aware of, which may be dangerous, but you might want to think about that if it's not already part of your thought process. Okay?
Well, and I appreciate those comments, and Deputy City Manager Lisa Goodwin is leading our camera effort, but we've got our IT people and every city department with those cameras that you talked about. Everybody's got something going.
Right.
But we are going to take a comprehensive approach and make sure that they are communicating cameras one with the other. But this is the first serious approach that we've taken with consolidating and making sure that we have a camera network citywide.
Yeah, and not just cameras talking to each other, but you could basically get a 2-for-1, right? You get small cell deployment through your camera, whether you have to get easements or, rights of way, et cetera, you could combine your efforts to really get more bang for your dollars.
I'm going to be disappointed if the team fails to do all that you just said.
Okay. Okay. All right. And then the last thing, again, based upon a comment I heard, actually 2 more things. One, I recall from the replay of the meeting, you said your wife is in the insurance business and was not aware of the last round of funding. Right. So, and to address that, one idea, again, trying to think, outside the box with...
Yeah, she wasn't aware because I didn't tell her.
But one thing you might want to think about, and I don't know if this is possible, but the road signs we see on the highways, on Jerry Allen Parkway, et cetera. I mean, I've seen the motorcycle signs, watch out for motorcycles, click it or ticket, et cetera. You've also used them for COVID direction to get people down to the Civic Center for COVID shots, et cetera. Could you broadcast via that means, American Rescue Plan funding available to small business, see at columbusga.gov, but not while you're driving, for more information, just to get the word out there, because people don't necessarily always see the newspaper, the news, or whatever, but you're always driving on the road somewhere. So I throw that out there as, again, another idea to think about. May not be feasible with restrictions with the state and what you can put on those signs, but something to at least explore, right? And then the last comment I'll make based upon what I heard here as well was with respect to the trucks and paying people to do it. A lot of times folks don't know where to start to get a business license or where to start to get insurance. So or they don't have the funds to do that, right? But they may have the vehicle because it's been something they got from, a dad or somebody they inherited, et cetera. One thing to think about is as you pay those folks to haul the stuff to the dump and
Yeah.
you pay them on tonnage,
Yes.
take a deduction for the business license fee. Take a deduction for the insurance. They don't have to have that upfront investment cost.
Well, let me just say, in this particular case, they've already counseled me.
Okay.
And they said they need a business license,
Yeah.
and they need insurance, and they need to add the city as an additional insurer. They've already, I had a meeting, and they've already, and so they're gonna bring a plan
Okay.
that I'm gonna have at city council on next Tuesday.
Right.
That I'm just revealing, because I want you to know that we're working, we're thinking, and we're just,
Oh, absolutely,
we're
absolutely.
trying to do.
And I definitely applaud that
Yeah.
effort. My focus is more on making it more turnkey.
Sure.
And don't say, you need to go get a business license.
Yeah.
But here's how you get it, and here's how we'll pay for it. You don't have to have the dollars up front. When you bring your first load in, we'll deduct out for your business license. And you may be conflicted with your wife being in insurance, but have 3 or 4 insurance companies that you pre-vet and say, okay, go to these folks,
Yeah.
et cetera, right? So just to make it easy for people to actually
Understand.
implement that, right? So
And
I applaud you for the plan, but make it easier, make it more turnkey to actually make it happen.
But just for the record, you like my plan?
I like your plan.
I want,
Absolutely. I do.
I want the
do.
mayor and City Councilor House and City Councilor Huff to hear that, because I'm going Tuesday.
Yeah, I like the plan. The other reason I like the plan, again, is based upon something I heard in Monday's meeting, was there was a gentleman talking about, young people, especially young men, need something to do to keep them on the right path.
Yes.
This would also benefit that as well, And if they don't have a truck, provide some sort of rental
Just keep
possibility,
talking.
right?
Yeah.
Provide some sort of rental possibility, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
don't have the truck, we've
Well,
got
and
these trucks
that's
you can
right.
rent.
U-Haul,
Yeah.
I mean, if you can rent a U-Haul for $19.95 a day, and
Exactly. Exactly. And if
Yeah.
you don't have the funds up front, bring your first load in, we'll deduct it off the first
What's
load or
your
the
name
first couple loads. My name's Ed Sutherland, and I'm the president of the Columbus Ballet Board, and I've gone off on tangents a little bit, but it got my brain thinking, because
Yeah.
my professional life is process improvement, and how do I get companies to improve and make things more
Yeah.
efficient?
Well-
So that was my
Yeah.
gears turning as
But-
I was listening to both the recording as well as some of the folks here who were talking. So definitely
But
appreciate
I
everything.
appreciate, all of your remarks are great, so I appreciate
Well,
you.
appreciate everything you're all doing. Definitely appreciate you holding the public meeting to get input from the community.
Yeah.
Council members, definitely appreciate it. Mayor Henderson, appreciate everything you're doing. Our state representative, appreciate everything you guys are all doing.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right, thank you.
And let me just say, I just wanted to comment on the small business loans that we did. Notice the initial loan, not loans, but grants. They were grants, which means you don't pay it back. They were $4,000, and so notice that we only had 112,000 in that round of grants. And notice that what you were shared tonight, that we're asking council for $3 million. And while the first round was 4,000, we haven't concluded what we're going to ask council for, but we think we would ask them for up to 10,000 in this round. So if you see my wife, tell her that there's going to be another round. And but no, seriously. But I see, I think that's Michael Soley has a mask on back there. And I was at the kickoff of the River Valley Chamber. He's the president of the chamber, and I heard them talking about Mayor Gertz, and I think he put in, did $500,000 in CARES Act to small business. But go tell him we want to do $3 million in small business. Jean.
Well, first of all, thank you, because I think the whole grant idea is excellent, and it will benefit small businesses And every single amount that we can get matters, and it'll help benefit all the city. So I'll be very quick. A couple of the things, my name is Janice Granville. I am a citizen of Columbus, Georgia. I just wanted, a couple of things I asked that we could consider in this funding. At the beginning of last summer, there was some CARES Act money, and I'm not sure if this has already come up, but there are a lot of businesses who applied for this CARES Act funding. They made changes. They were quick to try to make sure that their businesses were safe for the citizens and for their employees. And I think more so because they expected that money at that time, and we were not able to give that to them. If that money is available, I think at least for those who applied, that would be something good to do with some of this money.
Well, and let me just say that here's the problem with that. And of course, we, in good faith, went through that process. I just want to be clear, and identified those businesses that we were going to make the award to. And then the second round of money did not come down from the state. It got redirected for unemployment insurance, and that is the only reason. And the problem with that is that the ARP money, there's a date, and what's that date? And what they applied for predates what you can use ARP money for. So we can't use the ARP money for that, but they can apply for this $3 million for another round. And those grants were limited.
They were small.
They were small grants. If we do more, then they could certainly apply for this. But
Okay.
you want to mention that?
Yes, so this ARP funding is from March 3rd of 2021 through December 31st of 2024. That's when the expenditures have to be obligated during that period of time. So any expenditure that occurred prior to March 3rd of 2021 would not be allowed through the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, so just, which goes to another one of my requests. So that's good to know. The second one is financial assistance for community schools. I know we have a really good Parks and Rec program. They work very hard. They come up with great programs. And I know that a lot of parents utilize them for after-school programs. I would love to see our community centers continue to be used for greater diversity of the programs that we give, greater consistency in the programs that we're able to give,
Sure.
and even extending some of the hours of the programs
Sure.
that we give.
Sure.
Also being able to pay the teachers and some of the volunteers that can provide some expertise in whether it be extracurricular or tutorial programs
Sure.
for those community centers. As good as those centers are, they're only as beneficial as the resources we put in them, and that includes the people that we put in them. So that's part of what I'd asked, if we could put some of the money into that, as well as the pools. I know people have said that. I think I heard some of the program from Monday, so I know that was requested. But activities that the kids could do consistently, like pools, that could help during the summer and other times of the year. We have pretty much, you know, in Georgia, we have summer
That's right.
80% of the year. So
right.
it'd be great to have programs we
Yes.
could use throughout the year. Some of the other requests I had, I heard you mention about the ARP funds for the school system. So I'll save some of those for the school board. But I know teachers, even now, are still paying out of their pockets right
Yes.
now for everything as basic as masks
Yes.
that they're concerned about.
Sure.
So to know that there are millions of dollars sitting on the table for us to be able to use, I hope that we can allocate some of those dollars to some of the needs that the teachers are paying,
Right.
are one of our biggest resources here in the city.
Sure.
And then the last thing, and not being self-serving in any manner, is marketing. Something that I noticed that we, as the city, is not able to allocate a lot of money, which makes sense. Most cities are not. But there are so many things, whether it's jobs that are available or it's programs or changes. Same thing with Parks and Rec. We've got to spend the money to tell people about those programs,
Sure.
whether that be through traditional forms or non-traditional forms, as the suggestion was made earlier. But if we're doing all these great things and only 3 or 4 people show up because people don't even know we're doing them, then it's kind of like throwing money,
Sure.
throwing good money after bad. So I would just ask for us to think about allocating some of the dollars in this plan to market some of the good things that we're doing, so that more people can take advantage of them.
And I agree, we need to allocate more dollars to it, but you're going to do some public service announcements, right?
We do public service announcements all the time. And
I thought I'd just throw that in.
You know that. And
I know you do. You're great.
That's why I said I'm sorry.
You're
I'm not
great.
making it self-serving.
Yes.
We did some public announcements for this, but being able to.
You're great
yeah.
at it. You
Okay,
serve the
all right.
community. I know that.
Okay, thank you for that. But
Yes.
I hear things about, we want to give money to businesses. I was a part of the grant process for reviewing some of the applications for the process with the, what is it? It was through the chamber, but they did kind of just a small amount of grants. What was it called?
That was the
Startup Columbus?
Startup Columbus.
Startup Columbus.
That's what I just mentioned about the
Yes.
fourth, yeah.
So we got to.
Those.
So we
Yes.
got to look through some of those applications in the process. These are really hardworking small businesses.
Yeah.
And a lot of them weren't able to be awarded those money just because of some of the requirements for that particular grant.
Yeah.
And I know that's a learning lesson, and we'll fix some of those things.
Right.
But in addition to the money for those businesses, there's great programmings from SBA and other things being done in our city that people don't know about that would help them
Yeah.
to be better business owners. So getting that information out to people
Yeah.
is going to help our businesses to flourish and maintain and recover from
Absolutely.
this process.
Absolutely
So those are the
great.
only things, and I thank you all for everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
look
great.
forward to the benefits of how we use this money in the future. Thank
Great
you.
comments. Thanks for your station and all that you guys do. You're great community service to all of us. Yes.
So my name is Lakeisha Russell. I'm the owner of Second Chance Transition. I wasn't going to talk about the trash, but I just couldn't sit there and not say anything. So there's a stigma behind being a trash man. Nobody wants to be a trash man because it's known as the prisoner's job. So if you don't value the worker as if it's the same as a custodian or a CNA because it's a low-level job, but the importance of the job is very valuable, you will never have the employees that you need. It'll be a high turnover. People just get the job because they need a job.
Yeah.
So you have to think outside of the box. You're allocating so much money for products and stuff, but you're saying the issue is you don't have the employee. That doesn't make sense to me personally. So what I'm asking is, when you allocate funds, I don't care if it's for small businesses, because I'm looking at this list, and truthfully, I'm the nice person, but I say what everybody is thinking. I'm sickened by this list, and I'm just being honest with you because I know a lot of these people personally. I've worked with them in business and personal, and they didn't need the money. But a lot of times,
You said they did not need the money?
No.
Okay.
Funds are allocated because who you know.
Oh, no.
A lot of times
no.
it is. It is.
Well, let me just tell you, our program was not based on who you know.
Right.
And you know what? That is one reason I use my wife as an example. That's one reason people are like, why say that about his wife? Because if my wife had gotten the $4,000,
Right.
that's exactly what people would be saying.
Exactly.
And you know what? That's why I didn't tell her.
Right, and I understand that, and it's not personal. It's not personal. It's
You know?
not personal.
Well, no, but I want you to know because
It's
see,
not
I
personal.
don't want to get.
I promise you, it's not
Well,
personal, but I'm telling
well,
you what
well,
the
let me just
people
say,
are thinking.
let me just say this to you, because I need to make sure I'm clear.
Okay,
I've been with the city 37 years. I've seen what you talked about, what
Right.
you're talking about. And when I became city manager, the one thing I vowed is that is not going to happen, not while I'm city manager, because I'll call it out. And the people who are doing it report to me. And I would be no better than those who were before me who allowed such. And so I just want to correct you on that.
well,
I will not stand by and watch.
okay, so
anything like that.
again, it's not personal.
Yes.
I think if we did a poll in here and asked if we thought that it was favor shown in a lot, and it may not be this.
It's not.
It may not
It's
be
not.
this particular thing, but what I'm saying is, think outside of the box.
Sure.
A piece of paper doesn't always say the value of what somebody is doing, whether it be a department with the city, whether it be a nonprofit, or whether it be a private business. So what I'm saying is, when you're getting ready to allocate the funds, let's first make sure that we're able to get results to whoever the fund is being
Sure.
allocated to.
Sure,
Whether
absolutely.
it be the transportation department, like I said, or business, because just because you may need the money, that doesn't mean that you're even capable of using the money and getting the results
Sure.
back in, if
Understand.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing, and let's make sure if the money, even if is available, to not just go on a piece of paper, get out there and see what the people is doing. I know it was said 2 times to call your councilman. I know when I had an event a month ago, I sent the email out to everybody about my job resource fair. I think it was 2 people, John House and Ms. Bruce Huff, that responded back. This is on 2 separate occasions. So when it's all, again, like they said, marketing. That's part of marketing. People need to know, and people need to, if you say, call them, then respond back. If you say, call them, then you need to make sure you're telling your people to respond. Even if they say, like Mr. House always respond, he'll say, I'm not able to attend. Acknowledge that you even received the email, because, again, if we only know the people that's in here, that's it. Now it becomes word of mouth. I think that's why people say it's favoritism. It may not be favoritism, but if only the same people show up, because Michael Soul called me and told me to make sure that I came, I didn't see it anywhere else, so I wouldn't have known otherwise. The same people know, the same people receive the funding. So it appears as if it's favor, and that could be a simple thing of getting the word out more. So I don't want to debate, or I don't want to make it seem like I'm being ugly, but I'm just saying to allocate the funds to people, departments, I don't care who it is, who can give results. And the only way you're going to know that is to get out there and see it, because a piece of paper does not show that.
Well, and I understand the claps, but I don't play games. And I just wanted to be clear. There were no games, and it was based on merit and who applied. And the guy that signed all of the letters that made the awards was me.
Okay.
And I don't play that. And I just want to be very clear about that.
Understood.
That rubs me. I will not tolerate such. So be clear.
I understand.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Greetings to the mayor, city manager, citizens of Muskogee County, our council that is here. Of course, my name is Michael Muhammad, better known as Michael Soul. Thank you for acknowledging that, Isaiah. I am the proud president of the River Valley Black Chamber of Commerce. And I bring you greetings on behalf of our membership as well, and the coalition, the Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers, which includes 12 chambers in the state, and the River Valley being one of those 12. Here in Muskogee County, we're serving 16 counties. Muskogee County, of course, is the seat of that. Before I get started with my ask, of course, I want to thank the mayor, city manager, Councilman House, of course, Council Whitson was here as well.
Whitson was here?
Yeah, she was at our kickoff, for coming to our kickoff, and that's what I want to say. Thank you for coming out to our kickoff. Of course, Councilwoman Tucker, who was on our board. Thank you again. It was a great kickoff for us. We really appreciate the support. So thank you, Mayor, for sitting through and hanging out with us that night at Carver. That night, though, we made a promise, and I hope you remember, Mayor, that we were not going to come with complaints. Remember that? We're not going to come with complaints. We were going to come with recommendations, with solutions. We were going to come with proposals as well as ideas, not complaints. We appreciate the city government's hard work as it relates to the CARES Act funding, and today we'd like to add some additional recommendations for the addendums based off a series of town halls that we've had. We've had town halls, we've had economic roundtables, and we've heard the feedback from our constituents and people who have tapped in to talk about what they would like to see over the past several months. Where we recognize the $3 million, that's good. It's a great start. That's set aside for small businesses. We also would like to see some additional funding set aside. And I just had someone tap me again, are you going to ask about nonprofits? So we'd like to see some additional funding set aside for nonprofit organizations in the form of grants, and set aside for technical assistance dollars to help organizations build capacity within the community and develop the relationships with the city. Programs have been modeled. If you see what's going on in Albany, if you look at what's going on in Athens, just got a report on what's happening with Macon, with those dollars as well, and what they're doing. We feel like these will be beneficial in lifting all the votes in Columbus for everyone. as well as Muskogee County. We'd also like to further recommend that each city councilor examine projects that they specifically would like to see in their communities and allocate some of those projects to help some of the grassroots organizations in those communities who have been doing the great work of the community, as you know, with little to no budgets. We'd like to see them receive a portion of these dollars as well. We, the River Valley Black Chamber of Commerce, would like to serve as a fiduciary and provide the capacity building to further the efforts and success and accountability of those programs moving forward. And of course, we would like to sit down with you, City Manager, Mayor, as well, to further look at the feasibility of what we're proposing. Our programs take into consideration all citizens within the county and city of all socioeconomic sets, all races, which helps us ensure that we fall in line with the guidance of Executive Order 13985. The River Valley Black Chamber of Commerce is here for all citizens, and again, we thank you for all that you're doing a great job. We're here to support, and thank you again for our kickoff. In our first year, things are going well, and before I leave, this month, if everyone didn't know, is National Black Business Month. And it's also National Black Philanthropic Month as well. I know we'll be working on a proclamation before the month is out, and hopefully we can update you on the possibilities of us moving forward with that proposal. We feel that everyone can get what they want if we are patient and not rush this process with those dollars that are coming down. Innovative things we're talking about with this rescue plan funding, which does not have as many restrictions as we understand according to the Treasury Department. We want to make sure we position and strategically utilize these funds in the best way that can benefit all citizens. So, City Manager, Mayor, look forward to talking with you more about those proposals. And again, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for being there at Carver High School for our kickoff.
Absolutely. Well. Thank you, sir. Again, congratulations. And we look forward to working with you, and we appreciate your approach to wanting to work with us. Yes, and so we look forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right.
Others?
Hey, my name is George Singer, and the chairman of the board for Historic Westville. My cousin Julian Singer is the executive director there. And would like to thank you for your time tonight, sure. The information you provided. We came to get some information regarding the American Rescue Plan, because to be quite honest with you, Westville's at a crossroads right now due to COVID. The National Infantry Museum is still closed, which drew 300,000 visitors a year. And for Westville to just get a small percentage of those visitors certainly did help. So, you know, we're doing all we can right now to find the funding that we need to continue to stay open. So, Pam, I believe we'll be in touch with you. But just wanted to thank you for the information that you provided tonight. And, you know, we hope to follow up on this and to get the funding that Westville needs. You know, for more than 50 years, it's been able to educate families and students on how life was lived in the 1800s. And we hope to be able to continue that here in Columbus.
Well, I met with the mayor yesterday, and I was going to say we had a conversation. He had a conversation with me about Westville.
Yes, sir.
So know that we support you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hey.
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Y'all saw me the other night for music, and now I'm here again representing my Black has a purpose. So obviously I am Black. We're not saying that any other race doesn't have value or anything like that. It's just time for Black people to realize our own purpose. We appreciate the River Valley Black Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, for supporting so many endeavors and efforts. City Manager, all the hard work that you do, and coming from a HBCU. With that said, I would like to introduce Takara Hemingway. She works with mental health, and we just have one small statement just to say, we're not asking or begging for money. We're just saying, hey, we need support from everybody, and that includes everybody in this room. If we all can truly support each other, without all of these agendas and all of these things, we make it difficult for people that are trying to do the work. including the mayor, including the city manager, the deputy city manager. Why is it so difficult for us to just get along and do the work? Our focus is young people. We're focused on the future. And all we're saying is our Black has a purpose to, whether it's reduce crime, enhance music and the arts, whether it's increase education for mental health, focus on that. That's all we're here to do. And we're here to collaborate with everyone in this community. Yes, we need money. Everybody needs money. However, we're just here to say that positive thing. I'll give the mic over to Takara.
Hello, Takari.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Council, thank you guys for allowing us to come and speak. I'm not a public speaker. For those of y'all who know me outside of My Black Has a Purpose, I'm a singer. So if y'all give me something to sing, I can sing it. So I'm nervous is all I do. So Z does all the talking, okay? But like she said,
I'm nervous too.
I really know you don't sound nervous. But like Z was saying, My Black Has a Purpose, though it was created, you know, out of anger after the death of George Floyd, and many of you probably know us from the march. Shamika Averitz, Toya Tucker, and myself organized in 2020, June of 2020. It has continued with great momentum and became a nonprofit organization, and we are all about building purpose power in our Black communities. Basically, I just wanted to say, My Black Has a Purpose is not here to say that other nationalities don't. We're here to make sure that we know that we do. It's important. I'm sorry, give me a second, y'all. I lost my place. We just want to make sure that the African American community no longer feels overlooked, or like they've been forgotten about, or like they don't matter, or like they're just another census number. They need to know that they too are a part of this community and that they matter. My Black Has a Purpose is not, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Give me a second. Hold on, stop doing that. Give me a second. So basically, My Black Has a Purpose is not here to reinvent the wheel that so many organizations have already started turning. We are here to give momentum and to partner with other organizations. We want to partner with group homes. We want to partner with after-school programs and et cetera, and are looking to start purpose programs where we can focus on rebuilding the belief in purpose, rebuilding hope in our youth for their future. We're looking to rebuild the excitement about life and living. And I say that literally because my professional job is I am one of the few board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners in the city of Columbus. So I see countless numbers of young children, young adults, especially in the Black communities, who feel like the better option is death, you know? And so it's really hard to encourage them when you really don't have anywhere, no direction to point them in to say, hey, you can go here. You know, you don't really have the access or the programs that are beneficial for their needs, you know? So that's where My Black Has a Purpose wants to come in and be that space filler there. Like I said, but with working with other organizations who are already doing amazing work in this community. So we're not here to downplay anybody. We just want to say we want to help to continue the momentum. So again, like everybody has been saying this evening, please consider the nonprofit organizations that are doing the work of mental health, positive influence, and focused on Black individuals.
Sure. And we appreciate you coming out. And mental health is a serious issue. You know, we see it in our jail. We see it throughout the community. So like no time before, we've got to give more attention to mental health. So I'm with you. I agree.
And, you know, it used to be where we focused more on the mental health in adults, you know, but I think through this pandemic, you would not believe the amount of young people that I see in my office. I see maybe 10 new patients a day. So that's 50 a week. You know, in a year, I'm seeing 2,400 new cases of mental health. And so I appreciate you guys for letting me speak.
Well, thank you, Takari.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shauna Love, and I'm the Executive Director with Boys to Men Development. I have our Vice President here, Shamika Avery, in support. I want to thank you all for inviting us and giving us the chance to come and speak. Basically, Boys to Men is a local nonprofit 501c program in the area. We are centered around helping our youth. At this time, we are located at 7000 Storage Court. I'm asking that the funds, I'm a social worker, and I have a lot of parents that come to me and they're asking for help with their youth. We have a lot of youth that, a lot of parents that come to me that are single moms, and they are basically asking, like, what type of programs do I have that they can get in, which I do have. However, due to COVID, I can only, take a certain amount at this time. I'm asking that if you could please consider putting the allocation for some of the summer youth programs. This past summer, I had what was called the Gym Rats, and basically, it only lasted for a month because that's all I could do. I was asked to extend it out, however, it did not work out that way. So at this time, I'm asking you to please consider the nonprofits in the area, like Hisa was saying, that are out here working and doing it, making it happen for our parents and our youth. It is not an easy job, but, I'm just trying to make it happen at this time.
And I will say, just to piggyback off of the nonprofit organization piece, after the March last June, nonprofits just flourished. You had nonprofits coming from everywhere, out of the woodwork, because people realized the need for social activism, especially after seeing police brutality and things like that, and just wanting to say, what can I do? What organization can I create that can really push us into a better place, into a better world? So the nonprofit organizations are definitely growing, and people are thinking outside the box. During this pandemic, nonprofits have just birthed because people are sitting at home and they're saying, okay, how can I give back to my community? But how do I give back to my community if I cannot do that properly with funding to run these programs? So working with Boys to Men Development has been awesome for me. Working with My Back Has a Purpose, which was birthed out of the George Floyd March last year, has been wonderful. And it's actually putting me more in line with my community. And I'm grateful to say that I love working in my community. And just stemming from that and working with Boys to Men Development, I lost my daughter 4.5 years ago. So during that time, since during the pandemic, and I thought about some things, how can I give back? How can I think of some ways that I can remember her and honor her? So I created my own nonprofit, Gigi's Pearls Incorporated, which is going to work with young girls before they get into junior high and high school, working with 3rd to 5th grade girls. My daughter was in the 5th grade when she passed away. So 3rd through 5th grade girls. We need funding for that program. We're working with Community in Schools with United Way. I'm on the steering committee for Community in Schools. So we're looking for ways that we can help not only our teachers that are in these schools right now. Community in Schools is working with Brewer Elementary, MLK Elementary, and Dorothy Height right now, which are some of our more impoverished schools in our school district. And these teachers, they need help. These counselors, they need help. So Community Schools is going in to provide that support. And Gigi's Pearls and Boys to Men Development are creating a partnership with them as well. So what we're saying is that the nonprofit organizations are definitely out here with boots on the ground. We're doing the work, and we're trying to create a better community for Columbus, Georgia. And it starts with our kids in this community, from the girls to the boys to our young adults, because they grow up and they either stay here and they become members of our society that we can say, okay, did a great job, or they go another way. So our nonprofit organizations need to definitely, hopefully at some point, be at the forefront of this funding.
Sure.
Thank you.
And we heard from the nonprofits on Monday and again tonight, and so we are going to communicate that back to the mayor and council when we go back to them with what we heard from the groups.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say good evening, first of all, to everyone and to all the elected officials present. My name is Jean Jones, and I live in Columbus, Georgia. I'm retired Title I Director for Russell County Schools, but I live in Georgia. I have a few things on my list tonight, and I know that with federal funds is always, you always have to be in compliance.
Sure.
And though you might want to spend money in one way, you may not be able to. So I'm not sure if the things I have tonight are on the list, but I would like to begin first with the Frank Chester Recreation Center. I've been spending some time over there, and I noticed today that the tennis courts have not been touched, looks like, in years. So I don't know if there are plans already in progress for, I don't want to say
maintenance, upkeep.
It doesn't look like it's had any upkeep in a long time. Not only the tennis courts, but the fields, the baseball field, and the other areas beyond the actual center. This center is located in an area where, first of all, you have Dorothy Height Elementary School across the street. You have the Girls Inc. And exposing these young ladies and young men to other sports other than basketball, I think would be a plus.
Sure.
There's no walking trail there, and that's already been mentioned. And a lot of the seniors walk there. And also there's a housing complex across the street from the fire department. People there may need to come out and walk. So if that can be considered, that would be a plus for us. The Liberty District downtown, I'm not sure if the property around, because I attend Friendship Baptist Church, and there's a lot of unused space. The Liberty District, and also there's a lot of buildings that have just pretty much non-existent. And I'm just wondering if in that area, could you create a pavilion, a place where people can come that live in that area? So we don't want to forget about them. Grants for nonprofits as well as sororities and fraternities, I don't know if that would be an allowable line item, but I know that my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta, we've donated out of our pockets iPad chargers, masks, wipes, all kinds of things, PPE to Dorothy Heights School, and we've been supporting them in the past with school supplies, but the need changed with COVID. So, you know, we have, these nonprofits have also suffered from COVID because we couldn't have fundraising. So if that can be considered, if there's some grant money that might be available for nonprofits, I know that would be greatly appreciated. And my last item is, I was so happy to see the waste pickup truck today in my neighborhood. I almost wanted to stop and applaud. I was really happy about that. But one other thing, you know, the roadway, like the 5 feet of distance that is owned by the city, does it take to get that really cleared up? There's some areas in the, before you get into the Diamondwood neighborhood, we call, they cut it back a little bit, then it's overgrown, and it's also, in some cases, a hazard, because when you come to the stop, you can't see. You have to creep out almost into the street to see. And calls have been made, and calls are constantly being made, but I know we can't tackle everything at once, but if there's something that you all can do along those lines, it would be greatly appreciated. And thank you all for all that you have done as well.
And so we're recording, so we're capturing all that you said, but just know, Frank Chester, we've got things in the proposed special purpose local option sales tax to help with new pools and splash pads and doing some things with recreation centers.
Oh, at Frank Chester?
All of them.
All of them, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming too.
My name is Denise Cambridge, and I am a resident of Columbus, Georgia, of 18 years. I'm a native of New Orleans, and there's a lot of things that I don't agree with Georgia residents on, that including football, so here I am tonight. I'm here to represent the youth of the community, beginning with my 2 children that are home probably watching this and wondering what time I'm getting back. But I want to speak about youth development. When the senseless murders took over in this community and there was a lot of community response back in February, there was a community member, Mr. Bellwood Black, that made a Facebook comment And he went through this long laundry list of memories that he have from being a youth in this community, and about recreation centers, midnight basketball, and I don't know, I'm not from here, so y'all know those memories. But I would like to have those memories, same memories, afforded to my children. So I'm here to ask for youth development, or for funds to be allotted or allocated for youth development. As you're saying, with the park and recreation centers, bringing programs back to those communities. I'm getting passionate. I'm like,
I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Yeah. And I'm glad
Mr. Broadwater brought up about education. I'm not going to talk about Muskogee County School District here tonight because that's not what this meeting is about. But when you talked about those Title I schools, 38 of the 53 schools in Muskogee County School District, 30,000 students in this community. When we talk about those 30,000 children, let's not forget about them in these funds as well. Let Muskogee County School District take care of their education and let the city take care of their development.
Thank you for coming and share your passion. I feel it.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to keep things very short and sweet. My name is Alana Daniels. I'm 22 years old. And I kind of just want to speak on youth a little bit more because I think we kind of overlook youth, right? So the more you pour into the youth, right, the better they'll turn out, right? So I had an amazing mom and an amazing dad that led me to become the youngest person in Georgia to be the area manager for the elections office, right? I have 3 businesses, one that I started at 16 years old, and many, many more accomplishments, right?
Sure.
But everybody does not have that,
Yeah.
right? Maybe 20 out of 22 people that I see every day working for my mom, Second Chance Transition, they don't have a parent, right? And if they do, it's someone that doesn't care about pouring into them because their parent didn't pour into them.
Yeah.
So now they don't know any better.
Yeah.
So we wonder why crime is twice as bad as it was last year, and not only because now we don't have anything to do, we're not in school, right, because we're sitting at home on the computer doing school, and the teachers really aren't really paying attention to who's in class or not, so now you're on the streets doing something that you have no business doing, but you really can't put the blame on anybody because they don't know any better, right? And there's nobody pouring into them. And the different nonprofit organizations that are trying to pour into them, they don't have enough funds to do so, right? We only can help so many people. Only so many people can come into these doors, and we can put shoes on their feet, and we can put clothes on their back, and we can pour into them as much as we can. But hey, we got to go home at 5 o'clock, right? We can't stay every night until 8 p.m.
Yeah.
We can't stay up all night wondering, how can I help this person? Let me get this person a hotel room because they don't have a place to stay. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's try to focus more on the youth because we won't have as much crime if we have something to do, right? If we knew how, I've been to New York, let me tell you, so many times, I couldn't tell you how many times. But guess what? I have a friend who's never even been outside of Georgia, who's never been outside of Phoenix City and Columbus. So how do you know I can live a life like this if you've never seen it, right? If you've never had somebody tell you, hey, if you work hard, you can do anything you want to do, right? There's not enough people doing that. And the people that are, they aren't being funded, right? And again, no, disrespect to anyone, but I've been looking for 3 years straight, right? Every single person that gets that, the community reinvestment grants and the crime prevention grants, and what are they doing for our youth, right? Of course, I get every opportunity in Columbus because, hey, I'm doing everything, right? I've seen these people. I know most of these state representatives, and they know me. So it's okay for them to call me and say, hey, you want to come do this for me real quick? Get what I'm saying? But for somebody that goes to Eddy Middle School or Carver High School or Spencer High School, what are they getting, right? They're not getting those same opportunities because no one sees them. So what are those nonprofit organizations getting when nobody really knows them, right? If you've been, let's just say, W.C. Bradley, right? I'm sure everyone that he hung around was someone that was on his level, And that's why I aim to be like him one day, right? But he probably didn't know anybody that was making under $25,000 a year, other than the people that were working for him. But he wasn't sitting at the table with him, sitting at the table with them saying, hey, what do you need, right? Hey, what can I do to help you? He didn't know anybody making under $80,000 a year. So it's not like it's his fault that he hung around all of those people that were millionaires, right? Mm-hmm. But he just didn't know. So if my point is, it's not that there's favoritism, or it's not that, oh, well, it's about who you know, but there's no way for you to know if you're not in the streets, if you're not in E Canty, if you're not in Wilson, right? It's no way for you to know. But see, hey, I'm a 22-year-old who knows people who make $100,000, and I know people who are struggling making $7.25 an hour. So I know, hey, this is what we need, right? We need something for these youth to do. We need people to pour into them. We need exposure. We don't need programs that are going to say, hey, I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to, teach you how to do this. No, we need somebody to say, hey, let's go on a road trip. Let's go to a college. Let's go to New York City. Let's go to Las Vegas. Let's go to California to show them if you work hard, hey, this is the type of life you will live. Because my parents taught me, if you work hard, this is the type of life you can live. That's why I am this way. I'm not this way because I had a mentor, right? I'm not this way because I went to school. I went to Carver High School. Let me tell you, them teachers didn't teach me nothing, okay? I'm sorry. But honestly, I didn't learn, multiplication from them. I learned, look, if you want to make it in this world, this is what you need to do, right? So I learned hustle from them, right? I learned to work hard from them, but you gotta do more than school, because that's not enough for us.
Okay.
School is just not enough, right?
Okay.
We need programs.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. J. Aleem Hood. I'm born and raised in Columbus, Georgia, a proud graduate of Carver High School, the Holy Hill. And we did learn something. That's why I've been all over the world. But we were taught, when we finished Carver, in my day, to come back and help your people, not to leave Columbus so you don't have to come back. So that's the difference, okay? But I want to hit some very critical bullets here. First of all, let me just say this. I have a book here. And this book reads, the Georgia Department of Human Resources, Division of Public Health, Family Health Branch, Office of Adolescent Health and Youth Development, developing collaboration with the Institute on Human Development and Disability of the University of Georgia, Education, Research, and Service. I helped design this curriculum in 2000. I hate to tell people these things because people misunderstand, but it's about love. I'm the only expert in public health and crime that you know of. I'm sorry. The other people, they experiment. What I'm saying to you is that we went all over the state, a federal grant, through the State Department, to design this curriculum. And what we designed was a curriculum to train people how to build collaboration. So we have individual organizations in this community, but we don't have the collaboration, so we can do it in a comprehensive way. We have a curriculum. Everyone has to be trained. Prior planning prevents poor performance. No one here can say that the south side of Columbus, they can justify why the south side and east side of Columbus is so dreadfully different from the north side, other than we don't know what to do with the south and east side. We know how to do the things that you put on the list, and nothing wrong with that, but we need to do the human development. I know you have to look at the watch now, but my point is we have to do the human development. So my point very simply is this. We need a socioeconomic infrastructure, okay, through collaboration, but we have to be taught how to do that. We also understand that there's a crisis of hopelessness in this community, and you have to teach people how to do it, okay? Well-meaningness would have fixed this already if that was the case. And so it's not a criticism, brother city manager. It's just as the young lady said, you can't know everybody. You can only make decisions over what comes on your desk. You don't know the other people out there. It's our job to bring those people back into the loop, so that's why we're here today. So my basic point is this. We have well-meaning people here, yet because of a lack of skills and training, and that's all many of us are trying to do is prepare us how to rebuild our community. And our community can be rebuilt. We don't need cameras. The money you put in cameras need to be invested in jobs, after-school jobs for those between 15 and 25, after-school jobs, the same money, and you don't need cameras because I'm also chair of the Economic Development Committee for the state of Georgia, NAACP. And we're concerned about civil rights and civil liberties. And I'm saying to you, George Orwell did a book in 1984 that talked about Big Brother. We don't need Big Brother, we need community. So there's a proverb I'm going to leave with. In ancient Africa, every day before the day was over, all the elders of the community would meet together. And the chief would ask the question, how are our youth? They look around, they weren't sure. He said, go find out. So when they go back into the village and everyone comes back and reassemble, they say, Chief, the youth are fine. He said, okay, now we can sleep. We can't sleep in Columbus, Georgia, because we have not put together the collaboration that was required and the training that people need to build their own. We're talking about empowering the people, not what you do to them, but teaching them how to fish for themselves. That's all I have to say. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
In all due respect to the mayor, city council, deputies, elected officials, my name is Jerome Williams. I was going to sit there. I was going to hush my mouth and stuff. I migrated here probably about 20 years by way of Fort Benning and been here. And I'll tell you, in the last couple of months, I've learned a lot about how the city runs and things that's going on in the city. And I hear what a lot of people have said here. They've said a lot of good things. Dealing with our youth is one of the problems that we have in this city. And I was looking at that, the APR, the American Rescue Plan, and I didn't see where there was funds that was sitting, that was put in there for low housing development, as well as for these community centers. Now, I see that the nice aquatic center that's over here, but I go out to Shirley B. Winston, go out to Solomon Road. Those pools have been inactive for at least 7 to 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. When are we going to take and invest in the communities to make the communities better? I understand the idea of the garbage trucks. Right now, you want to take about 24 new trucks.
Yeah, 24.
But right now, you're 12 people short. Who are you going to have to operate these trucks that you don't have positions filled for? We need to take and look at, one, like Dr. Hood said, social economic. Invest, taking in and look at bringing up the pay compared to other cities like Macon, Savannah, Augusta. Those cities, we got to take in and look what's going to take and bring up everyone in the city together. Because when I was growing up, they always told me it took a village to raise a child. We don't have that village here. We have everybody trying to, well, I don't say everybody, we have a lot of individuals that's out there trying to make it for themselves and not worrying about pulling him along with them. Well, we also got a problem with ourselves because we got the crab in the barrel syndrome. Because we quick to see somebody doing good, but we quicker. Oh, he doing this here, he doing that. we got to take and learn to encourage and empower each other. So I would like to see us do something like fair housing, do something for the rec centers, taking and build these rec centers up, because some of these kids don't have the ability to come over here to Macon Road, to go swimming, or they don't have the access to go into these gyms. I know when I first got here, they was doing midnight basketball, which the young lady was talking about. Somebody posted on Facebook. My knees and back is bad. I can't play nowadays, but I still like to go watch. So we need to take, like I said, I'm gonna sit down, but we need to take it and empower our communities and make our communities work together in order for us to have a better Columbus.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Anyone else? This is your opportunity. And so, because we're going to stay here. We were scheduled to be over at 7:25, but we're good. Anyone else want to speak, make comments, recommendations? Sure. Sure. It's being recorded, so yeah.
Mine is a question.
Sure.
I'm a resident here, born and raised. I'm a servant leader for this community, and he just kind of brought that out. I was thinking, I was writing the same thing because my husband and I walk on a daily basis, and we walk at Shirley Winston, and we walk at Britt David. Vast difference. The pool there, and I know it's COVID, so I'm not asking to do anything. I'm not asking for anything. I have questions. That pool has been down for God knows how long. My sister, Evelyn Turner Pugh, really fought to get that there, and I know that the questions I've asked over the years have been the parts, it's broken, lots of things are broken, but it's definitely directly related to crime if we can't have our kids doing things.
Sure.
But what I see on that side of town is very different than what I see on the other side of town. And I know that maybe you guys have a plan, but my question is, what was my question?
When you say what you see different?
The pool has
Yeah.
been broken for 7 years, and the
Well,
question was...
I don't know that it's been 7, but it's been broken for a number of years, 4 years.
4?
Yeah, and of course, the pool was the first Olympic-sized pool. It was
Yes.
constructed in 1996.
Okay.
The pool is more than 20 years old, and it has cracks at the bottom.
know that.
And the life expectancy, we've gone far beyond the life of that pool. And on the special purpose local option sales tax, there's something in there to replace the pool.
That's great. Well, that was my question. I wanted to know what budget has the Parks and Recs in it. I don't know about the
Yes.
ARC. I don't know. But I wanted to know what budget addresses the Parks and Recs, because if that's been a concern, then we've needed to move it along, not just for Shirley Winston, but other places that have similar needs.
And we have others as well, yes.
Right, and I wanted to know what budget addressed that. Was it this one? Was it the one from?
It's not the ARP.
Okay, yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
see that on the list.
Yeah.
But my question was, which budget does?
Yes.
And I know this has been said at lots of other council meetings as well.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I wasn't going to say anything, but since he said that, I wanted to echo the concern that if we are looking at that, and whatever those demographics are, the metrics about how big it is in the first and the last or the middle, we needed to do something
Yes.
to address it where these children have things to do, because they can't get to this thing. This is beautiful. They can't get to that stuff.
Well, yeah,
So
you're
that's-
right. It's out of the way for some, but during the summer, we have unlimited rides on buses for our youth. They don't pay.
And that'd be great.
Well, no,
If
we
a
have that.
6-year-old or a
Yeah.
12-year-old could ride a bus because their parents are trying to work.
Yeah.
I'm not here to complain. My question was, what budget does
Sure.
address that then? And if
Yeah.
so, then when are we moving in that direction to put monies in place
Yeah.
to fix not just that one, but others as well?
Yeah.
So that was my question.
Great. And just to come in, I was frustrated yesterday, and I shared that with the mayor this morning. I went out to Shirley Winston for the National Night Out yesterday, and rode out there, and the parking lot's empty. All the cars are on the grass around the pool. They were having,
Absolutely.
they were
Yes.
having football practice.
Right.
I'm trying to figure the logic, you know, and I've gotten complaints about it before.
One was
And-
mine.
And I'm trying to figure the logic, why we got to park on the grass
Yeah.
and the parking lot's empty. Just cars everywhere. And I told the mayor, I said, I should have taken the picture because it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. And meanwhile, the other
And do
cars
we
are doing
want the
donuts
grass to be
in the
nice and
parking
look
lot.
good?
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, absolutely.
Cars
I live in that
all
area,
up over the
of course.
football field, all around the
They're
football
all
field.
close to the park, to the ball field, and
All
nobody's
the
in the parking lot.
cars on the grass,
Yeah.
wet, you know, it's raining and, you know, tear up everything, but the parking lot is empty.
Yes.
What sense does that make?
Yeah, they do donuts in the parking lot.
Oh, that's why.
That's why
I'm
they're-
trying to figure,
Right.
I'm trying to figure the logic. And so we have to take care of our things.
We do, we do.
So when I go to the other side, you know, I mean, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I go out there on the weekends, trash everywhere.
Sure.
Not in the receptacle, on the ground. It is frustrating to me.
It is.
Why?
I'd love to answer that.
So, I mean, when you touch the nerve when you, like, the difference.
I can only tell you what I see. And with
I can
us
tell you what I
walking,
see.
That was the question.
Yeah.
My husband and I
Yeah,
talked about it
and
all
I'm
the
just
time.
telling you what I see.
Okay.
We must take care of what we have.
I agree. But I don't want to get misconstrued. Yes, the communities have a responsibility, so we need to have accountability within the community.
Sure.
However, we don't need to desert them either because we
agree.
feel like they need to do that.
I
and so
agree.
we will not do.
Well, and I'm even, I mentioned to the mayor, I'm even thinking about expanding parking enforcement, that we can go out to Shirley Winston, Metro, and start writing tickets.
I love it.
Get off the grass.
I love it indeed.
I mean, it makes no sense.
I love
Makes
that.
no sense. We don't have, by ordinance, we can't. But guess what? Down at Lake Bottom, we did the ordinance, and you park on the grass off the parking pad at Lake Bottom, we're gonna write you a citation.
Okay.
I told the mayor this morning when I'm looking at Shirley Winston. We gotta make people do right
Sure.
when they won't do right.
Sure. Thank you for that. Good
Sure.
talk. Oops.
You want to come to the mic?
You don't need the police to do that. Hire some teenagers to direct the traffic when they come out there, give them a stipend, and give them some responsibility for maintaining their park. You don't have to give them no ticket and get the police involved unless they can't handle it.
They're adults. We shouldn't have to get in.
No, listen to what I'm saying. Give them the job of directing traffic, give them a stipend for, as an after-school, as a part of the recreation center. They're learning job prep. They're learning responsibility. They can direct them, then I bet you they will redirect those cars.
So
So
you want us to pay someone
Yes.
to tell people not to park on the
You
grass?
gonna pay the police?
You got 400 parking spaces out here.
You're gonna pay the police. I'm gonna say,
I haven't talked about police.
I thought you said you're gonna give them a ticket.
I said parking enforcement.
Well, who is that?
They're not police.
Oh, well, whoever it is, they're gonna get paid to do it.
And, yeah, they're parking.
Okay, my point is give it to some of the teens. Teach them how to be
Yeah.
enforcers. That's what I'm saying.
I appreciate your comment.
Okay.
But my thing is, the adults who bring their kids to Shirley Winston need to park in the parking lot.
Yes, we agree.
It's simple. Park in the parking lot. Are there other questions, comments, recommendations? Pardon? Okay. Let me just make sure that we've answered. No more comments, recommendations.
Yeah, give that process going forward one more time, the city manager, just going forward. I think you said there was a slide that said at the next council meeting.
Well, I think Deputy City
Yeah,
Manager
that's it right
Hart.
there. Thank you. I just want to see it again. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Any final questions or comments? It's on the website. It's on the website, and, yeah, columbusga.org. And we will make this presentation again at City Council meeting, the same thing that you've heard here. Okay.
And just to remind everyone, we did have a form to fill out. If you want to leave your form, my email and phone number is also on there, so you're welcome to email any comments or questions. But if we can get your forms back, it just helps us to better inform council of everyone's opinions. And there are some forms on the table back by Director Rob Scott. And thank y'all so much for coming. We appreciate it.